Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. This is Lisa Marie Eard with Campus Bound GPS October Tips. This is day 2. Last night, let me go back again. Okay, I see Jaleesa, she is here. I am here. Great. So awesome. Awesome. I get a little nervous because I'm really trying something new this year, working with new technology and just making sure that it works. And it's kind of scary, but you just get on and do it and try to just make it happen, right? So, my name is Lisa Marie Eard. I'm the Collegiate Success Coach for Campus Bound GPS, where we help students and parents navigate the college application process. And this is October Tips. October Tips is a program that will be providing students and parents for the month of October with a tip per night about the college application program. Why? Because we know the college application program can be daunting, can cause stress, can be overwhelming. And there's so many parts and pieces to it that sometimes you just need someone to break it down. I'll always say that I am not a college counselor. I am not an admissions person. I am not a high school admissions person. I'm a parent. I'm a parent who went through this college application with my children twice, and 2 different types of students, 2 different journeys. And I learned a lot along the way. I learned so much that folks started asking me about it. And the best way that I can give back is to share it on a platform such as this. So, hence, we have October Tips, a vehicle to share whatever resources I have. And by resources, I mean anyone who has gone through the college application process or is involved in the college application process. I will do my best to bring this information to you. So last night, we had an amazing conversation with about FAFSA with Pamela Sams of Jackson Sams Wealth Strategies. And the reason in the conversation, I said she's my day one. She's my day one because October 1st is the start of FAFSA. And I think we were talking about it last night. She started doing my program maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. And she was my day one. And we're keeping the trend because it's so important. So important that I wanted to further the conversation tonight because I was reading some articles and I just want to kind of go through articles and statistics and just kind of show in that way how important filling out the FAFSA is and getting your process started. And I guess I can start because I can start with what is FAFSA? And let me go into what FAFSA is. And FAFSA is the Federal Application for Student Aid. And it is the money put aside by the government to help students fund, or students and parents fund their college education, their educational journeys. There is about $150 billion put aside for this so that there are ways so that you can go to school. So a lot of one thing that came up and one thing that Pam talked about last night was there are folks who feel, why should I fill out FAFSA? I know I'm not going to get any money anyway. Well, FAFSA is not just to get money per se, a loan per se, or it's for scholarship. Some school use it as a determination for how much scholarship money or how much grant money. You can also use FAFSA to get work study. So there's so many other things that filter in. Athletes, there are determinations for athletes and the amount of money that they get on their scholarships. for whether it's Division I, Division II. Division III does not give out scholarships, but there is still a determination factor where students may be able to get grant money or something like that. But I just want to throw out some numbers. There's an article, and let me pull up this article here in front of me so I can get it directly. But a very important article that I think is important. It, let's see, CNBC Make It, and the author who published this article, Abigail Johnson Hess, and it was published on September 30th. And the title of the article is Starting October 1, Students Can Apply for Their Share of $150 billion in College Aid. Here's how. The interesting thing that I saw and what I want to highlight is the statement, last year, FAFSA applications fell even though a financial need increased. And financial need increased primarily because of the pandemic. There were many families who were not working, and they did not, their financial situation changed. It is so important. It is so important to put yourself in a position to succeed, right? Put yourself in a position where you can get a little bit more, get some help. The cost of college increases every year. And it would be a shame to not be able to tap into a resource that will help you make the difference between one school or the other. Discover Student Loans, in this article, says Discover Student Loans polled 1,500 parents with college-bound teens in early March 2020 and again in May 2020. They found that 48% of parents lost income as a result of the pandemic, and 44% said they cannot afford to pay for as much of their child's education as they had originally planned. As a result, 39% of those who in March said they did not plan to apply for federal aid in May said they would. And you need to. It's important. This is a source. This is a resource. So there's Sallie Mae put together an infographic based on their 2008 report on how America pays for college. This is a 2021 version. And they kind of broke down this just the way families pay for college. And it was very interesting. So it says 56% of families, let me see what's this here. Let me get this right. Okay, so here's a breakdown. So the share of college costs paid by each funding source. 23% of these folks who participated in the study, 23% of the payment for college came from the parents' income. 22% came from savings, 4% came from student income, 4% came from student saving, 9% came from parents borrowing, 11% came from students borrowing, 2% came from relatives and friends, 16% from scholarships, 9% from grants. Of those who used federal student loans, 44% expect, and I like the word expect, their loans would be forgiven. But this report, this breakdown from this report just kind of opened my eyes a little bit. Those folks, I was a part of it too, because I paid for my children to go to school, and I used FAFSA and I used loans. So I'm a part of this as well. But we do our best in order to send our children to the next level. So I'm talking to parents, and paying is one of the finances, money. It's one of the biggest concerns, and it's a real concern. So one thing that I did like that I read is more families, and this was in the Sallie Mae report, more families are paying ahead because you do want to try to get ahead of this payment because it's sticker shock. College, 4 years of college is sticker shock. The price you have to pay is amazing. Sometimes it's a house note, not even a car note, it's a house note. So this says 56% of families are making student loan payments while in school, up from 46% in the academic year 2019 to 2020. So that's another way that parents and students are trying to get ahead of this payment because 6 months after you graduate, the government will say, hey, we want our money back for our loans. If you're on scholarship, great. If you have grants, I got to check on that, but I don't believe grants need to be paid back. But definitely loans have to be paid back. Scholarships and grants. Grants don't have to be paid back. So money that doesn't need to be paid back covers about 25% of college costs. And if you can talk to your institution and find out what grants are available, I think that's a great idea. Many families are borrowing money for college because we do want our students to go to school. Just really pay attention. Like Pamela said yesterday, really pay attention. Know what you are getting yourself into. A lot of the expectation is, hey, I get a student loan. I'm going to graduate and get a great job. And my job is going to pay for my education. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you will, even STEM students, some may have a hard time getting into their field right after graduation. So you have to really look at what it is that you're trying to do. So I'm just going to move around a little bit with the article. And it also talks about, because I'm not going to stay too long since Pamela covered a lot, but I did want to just go over some things that I felt like kind of resonated with me and kind of stuck out, especially in this article. So one thing we talked about was her tip was FAFSA Made Simple. And one of the things that with the new way the way that the form is made now, from when I was working with my children trying to fill out FAFSA, I would dread that time of year because I would have to get my taxes together and make sure that I filed and make sure that it was like the day I filed, the next day I would fill out FAFSA. And now, because they go on the previous year's tax return and they have linked the service up with the IRS, it's easier. So this, once again, Make It, CNBC Make It, the article, there's an article linked into the article I was reading that talks about 6 simple steps to complete the FAFSA. And they said they tried it and they finished it in 4 minutes. So they had a person go through. Personally, I think it will take more than 4 minutes, especially looking at the steps. But it's not as daunting and it's not as troublesome as it has been in the past. So complete the FAFSA. But I'm going to go through the 6 steps that the article quoted. And it said, excuse me, I did not turn off my phone. I apologize for that. But the article first says, make a list of your schools. And that is a very important task to do. According to Pamela, she said last night that you can have up to 10 schools when you're filling out your FAFSA. So this means for our seniors, we're in October 1. You started school, some schools open in August, some in September. Start thinking about what schools you want to attend prior to that, so that when it comes to October 1st, you have generated a good list of schools that you can add to your FAFSA, right? Then it says gather financial documents. Uh, because of that direct link with the IRS to get to your tax forms, you may not have to gather as much, but just know your numbers. Okay, so there's a question that came in. How should I start a conversation about FAFSA with my child? When should we start preparing to fill out FAFSA? Okay, so the conversation, uh, the FAFSA conversation, I think should be a part of the college, um, the family college conversation. As a parent, as a student, when you're talking about, well, how do we pay for college? And you start talking about, do you have a savings as a family? Have you, where's the money coming from? That might be a good time to interject, that in October of the year prior to getting into school. So your senior year, that October, you need to fill out FAFSA. So start looking at, well, if your child has a summer job or a job while in high school, are you using some of that savings in order to put onto the form? If there are 529 plans, are you going to use that money to put into the FAFSA form? So those kind of conversations, where's the money coming from to pay for college? When you're talking about that, that's a good time when you're figuring out, how am I going to do this, being realistic, having open conversations about paying for tuition, room and board. I always have to say tuition and room and board because when my son, was going through this, I'm single mom, didn't know where the money was coming from. So I prayed. I was like, Lord, I really, he's a smart kid. He's got a really high GPA. I want tuition to be paid for. And I always say, be careful how you pray, because I prayed and I got it. But then there was also that expense of room and board. And I was like, dang it. I didn't complete my prayer. But really seriously have that conversation as early as possible. Have the conversation knowing what resources you are looking into, but more importantly, know that it's going to be important to have your documents together so that you can come October 1st or come in October, fill out FAFSA. Because one of the things is it's first come, first served. $150 billion is a good amount of money. But when you have so many students in the world pulling from this money, there's a possibility that if you apply too late, you may not be able to get as much or none at all. So it's super important that you look at your timelines, and October 1st is a very important date. So going back to the 6 steps that CNBC Make It, in the CNBC Make It article, and first was make a list of schools. Second, gather financial documents. Third, create a federal student aid ID. And that's something that Pamela mentioned last night. It's one of the first things that you do when you go to the, I believe it's studentaid.gov site, and you fill out, you just fill out your password and get your student aid ID number and so forth. And then it says, number 4, start the FAFSA for your desired year. As Pamela mentioned yesterday, you have the time frame for this year, which is the 2022-23 academic year. And there's a certain time where you can go back. I think it's closed now, but you have until June. So there are academic year monies available. So let's say, let's use Pamela's example from last night. Her son went to summer school and she went and applied and she got some aid at that point because she still had time to apply and there was still money available at that time for summer school. Okay, so number 5 is an interesting one. It says follow the instructions carefully. Follow instructions carefully. And they talk about the 7 sections. So there are 7 sections that you go through. It's this student demographics, school selection, followed by dependency status, which is the student. Then it's the parent demographics, your financial information, which is that button that you press to go to the IRS and they bring up your tax forms, sign and submit, and then confirmation. Would it take about 4 minutes? I don't know. I think it'll take a little longer, especially if you're looking at all of these steps. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be daunting. You know, I did this, I said this, I wanted to kind of follow up with this because, one, I really think this conversation is important. And I want to decrease the stress factor when it comes to filling out the FAFSA. And the 6th, okay, I said it's submit. The 6th is submit. So I'll go through those steps 1 through 6 one more time. So step 1 is make a list of your schools. Step 2, gather your financial documents. Step 3, create a federal student aid ID. And it's let's see, and they actually have an app. It says here that you can use the My Student Aid app, or you can go to the studentaid.ed.gov website. 4 is start the FAFSA for the desired year. 5, follow the instructions carefully, which include the sections of student demographics, school selection, dependency status, parent demographic, financial information, the sign and submit, which is just putting your signature on everything, and then getting your confirmation. And the last step is to press the button and submit. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is encouraging. It is important. It's a part of the whole college application process. I like having this tip discussed early on in the program, 1, because of the date, but 2, it's the main concern. People are worried about money. The major concern is, how am I going to pay for college? Where am I finding the money from? How is this going to work? And a surefire resource and something that actually helps with a lot of resources or taps into a lot of resources is the FAFSA. So that is my tip for this evening. I hope it was useful. If you are watching the replay, please put your questions in the comment box and we will definitely get back to you. Tomorrow, we have a really good program. We'll be talking about scholarships. I have my guest is Melina Watson. She is a student at Spelman College, and she will be talking to you about scholarship and helping parents, as a student, helping parents along the way with this money talk. So and that's it for now. I really want to thank you for joining us this evening. This is Lisa Marie Aird with Campus Bound GPS. Have a good evening and definitely be safe. Bye-bye.